Alrighty. All right, here we go. If you saw the title, you already know that this isn't the regular Amayou Raw Real and Uncut fun. Let's talk about cosplay, all that type of stuff. Um, this one's a little bit different, but necessary. So, here we go. I don't know why I all of a sudden got nervous. I don't know if it's because I'm actually doing this and I planned on doing it a very long time ago. Well, not very, maybe probably over a year ago, but I just hadn't gotten around to it. Um, but I wanted to talk about it. So here we go. Excuse me. So let's start with the statistics. The statistics is 1 in 4. 1 in 4 women will experience a miscarriage in their lifetime. That is a statistic that I only recently, actually, it was before my own, because I saw another friend had posted something about it, about miscarriage and infant loss awareness. Um, and so I heard that or saw that in passing, but I really, I really didn't think that much into it. I guess probably because it wasn't my story at the time. Little did I know it would become my story. So I'm going to just tell my story about my experience. And my purpose and point in telling it is so that, if there are other women out there that are going through this or have gone through this, that they don't feel so alone. I felt very alone. I felt ashamed. I felt like it was my fault. I felt like maybe if I hadn't done this, or maybe if I hadn't gone to the gym or whatever. And although I'm over a year removed from it, it still hurts, and I still think about those babies. So there was more than one miscarriage. Um, so I don't know if there will be tears on this particular video. There might be. If you see me chuckling or making a joke of something, charge it to my head and not my heart. That's just my way of dealing with this very heavy topic. So, I wrote down some dates so that I could, get this, um, make sure it was accurate. So, as most of you know, I got married in 2021. Was it 2021? Yep, it was 2021, right? Kind of in the middle of the pandemic, kind of on the way out of it. And my husband at the time initially decided that we were not going to try to have children right away. We're going to give it some time, be married, have all the fun, loving, newlywed time and all that good stuff. But our marriage, it started off on a pretty heavy note. I've talked about this before and he's shared it, so I feel comfortable sharing it. Shortly after we got back from our honeymoon, we ended up taking in his father for hospice care. So just kind of building up the timeline. So we, take care of him until he passes, and just the normal marriage stuff, like just getting to, I don't want to say getting to know each other, but living with someone. Like we didn't cohabitate before we got married. We didn't do a lot of stuff before we got married, but that's a whole other video. Um, but yeah, so that was the beginning of our marriage. During that time, he actually got a promotion, and we ended up moving out to Kennesaw. So that was great. Got a new apartment and just kind of had time to nurture our relationship more, I think. Um, so as we were out there, after, was it after the first year? Yeah, it was it after the first year? Lord, now I wrote dates down and I don't even have the dates right. After the first year, Valentine's Day of the following year, So it wasn't a whole year because we got married in like June, July, somewhere around there. That's bad that I don't know that date off the top of my head, but that's neither here nor there. Um, we we decided we were ready to start trying. We sought medical advice and we were informed that we would probably need some type of medical intervention. I was 39 going on 40 at the time. Um, so that's kind of to be expected. So once we found out that information, even though we were trying, I kind of stopped tracking my ovulation and all that good stuff. And then in July, I started my private TTC blog. Now, initially, when I was going to make this video, I was going to splice in parts of the videos that I had made throughout this entire journey, but I've decided for right now to keep those private. So that's why I'm just doing the live here and I'll upload it to YouTube later. So in July 2022, I started my private vlog. Hey, Adrian. Um, September 26th, around that time, I want to say actually the 25th, he and I had just gotten back from a trip, actually dropping off my bonus son at college and no, not dropping him off, visiting him at college and just, we had a good weekend. It was, it was good. Came back and I realized that my cycle was late. And honestly, I was thinking, oh, it's probably because we've been really stressed out because we had that trip coming up and, you know, we had this gala to go to. Like, it was a very high stress time. But anyway, I decided to go ahead and take a test. Took the test, it was positive. But I started spotting and I was just like, okay, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. This is not the way I want to tell my husband that we're pregnant. So what am I going to do? Call my best friend, talk to her. She was like, you probably need to go to the hospital with the whole spotting thing. So the next day, what's the next day? I think it was the next day, I ended up going to the ER at, not the ER, yeah, the ER at the VA. Excuse me. I didn't know this, but the VA, they can't do anything having to do with like pregnancy, other than give you a test and say, yeah, you're pregnant. Now we got to send you somewhere else. Didn't know that. So I ended up having to go to Emory. Went to Emory, was there for a few hours. Hey, Debbie. Um, they informed me that I was experiencing what they at that time said was a threatened miscarriage. Now, mind you, I just found out I was pregnant a few hours ago. So I was just like, oh, okay. I hadn't really thought like much into the future about this or whatever. I knew that when I did tell my husband I wanted to be in some cute way where I was going to get him a little shirt and I was going to surprise him and secretly record him and, all that cute stuff that you see online. Didn't happen that way. I still did get him his shirt, and I did give it to him later. And I told him, what the doctor said and everything. But honestly, I felt like he was a little disconnected at the time. Didn't know why, but it was okay. We're gonna, plow through. They said I need to come back in 3 days so they could check my HCG numbers to make sure they were trending up, which is what's supposed to happen when you're pregnant. So those 3 days, I'm praying, I'm, hoping that the pain and the spotting and the bleeding and all that goes away. But it didn't. It seemed like it got worse up until that third day. On that third day is when it felt like I felt better. So I went in and they did the test and everything, and that's when they told me that this is looking like a miscarriage or you're having a miscarriage. And that was pretty much it. I was just like, okay, well, this is not the story that I thought I was going to be telling, but I'm this is my new reality. And, maybe, we'll try again some other time or whatever. But at that point, I was sad, I cried, but I feel like I wasn't as emotionally tied into it. So that happened. So a couple weeks after that, hubby says he needs to talk to me about something. And I'm like, okay. Usually that's what women say when they want to have some heavy conversation. And we had the talk and And these aren't his exact words, but in so many words, he said that he didn't want more children and that he wanted a divorce. And honestly, the first that day that he told me that, I was kind of like a little bit dumbfounded, and it wasn't really processing because to me there was no reason for us to get a divorce unless, infidelity. That's what I thought. Infidelity or abuse, and neither of those things were happening. So I was just like, I just kind of took that in the first day. The next day I came back and I asked him, I was like, "Are you 100% sure?" Because I'm like, if you're 100% sure, then I'm not about to fight to stay in a marriage by myself. So he said yes, and we started preparing to get a divorce. Now, going to be honest with you all, because when he told me he wanted a divorce, I was ready to get out of it. I pretty much let him handle everything, which I'm not gonna say I shouldn't have, but I should have looked a little more into it, and I should have talked to people in my circle that have been divorced before, because I didn't even know I had to ask for my name back. I didn't know these things. But anywho, I let him handle everything, and I had moved out of the house. I would say within like out of the apartment, um, in about 2 weeks, I had moved out. Went to my home. I had a trip coming up to visit my best friend, so I really wasn't thinking about anything, other than, dang, I got to tell my best friend I'm getting a divorce. Oh, So I go there, and the timing in which I went there, I was supposed to be starting my period. So I was like, that part's gonna suck. Didn't start my period. So I was just like, well, that's odd. Okay, this is probably having something to do with the whole miscarriage situation. Maybe my body's not quite back to normal. Bessie's like, go get a test. I said, well, I guess I need to do that. So we got a test. I took it and I found out I was pregnant again. And I was like, wow, back to back. This is what we're doing. Because I hadn't even had a period since the miscarriage. So I was dumbfounded. I didn't even know if that was a thing. So when I got back in town, actually from the moment that I found out, I went and purchased some prenatal vitamins, even though I could have waited a few days to go get. I went and purchased some prenatal vitamins. I started taking them. When I got back on the plane, I didn't want to go through the radar thing because I was just like, I don't know what that'll do to the baby. I know it. I was being really extra. Um, got back in town, called my doctor, talked to them. I think I took another test and took a picture of it and sent it to um, the lady that was helping me after the miscarriage situation. And that was that was a crazy time because I was still doing my vlogging. So now I'm like, okay, so we're from being pregnant to having a miscarriage to being pregnant to becoming a divorcee to now I'm about to be a single mom. Like what? It was a lot. So I'm still vlogging, trying to, make some healthier choices with my eating, still working out. I didn't have any like really bad symptoms other than heartburn. Like I had hella heartburn, which I'm like, can that even happen this early? I didn't know what was going on. But I wasn't nauseous or anything like that. So that was what? That was end of October, early November. With my first pregnancy, because I didn't even know that I was pregnant, I never got an ultrasound. So with my second pregnancy, I was like, I'm gonna go get an ultrasound. I know that the doctor at the VA is gonna say, oh, you don't need to be there till 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna go get an ultrasound. So I found a private place and I got an ultrasound. And I'm actually gonna show you guys my little ultrasound because my little second baby. Yeah, I mean, it don't look like nothing but a little dot, but that was it. That was my baby. Um, and according to this, they estimated that I was 6 weeks, 2 days. So I think that was still a little bit over. I don't know, y'all. I don't know how the math works on that. Maybe I'll find out one day. I don't know. Um, that was actually, I think the date is on here. That was on November 22nd. On Thanksgiving, of not last year, but year before that. This is 2022. Um, that night I felt like a sharp pain in my stomach, and I was just like, "Ooh, that was weird." I didn't like it, and it alarmed me. Now, mind you, I'm holding my stomach. I am saying prayers over my stomach. I'm doing confessions. I'm saying the scriptures, all the things. Pretty much since I found out I was pregnant for the second time, because I was like, I'm not about to have another miscarriage. The devil is a lie. Devil was not a lie. The next morning when I got up, it was Thanksgiving Day. Um, I was spotting, and so I went to the doctor. Ended up having to go to the emergency room again, and that's when I found out that I was having my second miscarriage. So that one hit me hard. It hit me really hard. I had started planning. I was like, okay, by the time Christmas rolls around, maybe we'll be closer to 12 weeks. I'm gonna tell my family at Christmas that that was my plan. Um, but after that happened, I spiraled. I was having a lot of depression. I was really stressed out because I was still in school at the time. There was just a lot going on. I couldn't even finish my last class and do my final because there was so much going on. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Um, and it's for me, it felt very lonely, and the only place where I felt like I could find people that were talking about it, and it's gonna sound real crazy, it was over on TikTok. Um, because, and this is something that they say that, when if you knew me before my miscarriage, you don't know me, you don't know me now, the new me, because that person, and you can be healed and whole and gone through your grief and everything, but now you're a person that has experienced a miscarriage. So if you happen to want to pursue motherhood in the future, which I do desire to pursue, I've had two miscarriages, so that's still there. So I still have to pray about that and try not to focus on that when the time comes. This is also not a pregnancy announcement. I am not pregnant, but I do desire motherhood. Hey, John, thanks for tuning in, even with my trigger warning. Um, but I wanted to get that story out there because you don't know who's going through it. And if someone's watching this that is going through it or has gone through it, I just want to reassure you that you should not be feeling ashamed. You should not feel like you can't talk about it. And most importantly, and this was for me, it just you don't have to feel alone. Excuse me. Like I said earlier, the statistics is 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 women have experienced that. Thank you. 1 in 4 women have experienced a miscarriage. So that's it. I don't know who all's on here. If anyone has any questions for me, I'm a very open person. And like I said, I've gone on my healing journey. So even though I still have my sad moments and I do still cry sometimes, I did do some things to commemorate my two babies that I lost. I got a ring. I don't know where my ring at. Hopefully I find it. But I got a ring with two hearts on it, a pink one and a blue one. Um, and on the inside, it's inscribed with my angel babies. So I have that. And even when I got it, I was just like, oh my God, I hope I don't, have another one, and then I'll have to, I'll have another angel baby and all this other good stuff. But that's it. That's it. That's all. But if anyone does have any questions for me, feel free to ask. Like I said, I'm a very open person, and I'm deep enough into my healing journey where I can talk about it. And even if I did cry, I don't think I would feel bad. Like it's grief. Like that stuff will hit you out of nowhere. Um, if you saw my post about the book I'm reading called Sensual Faith, I was listening to that today, and the lady shared her miscarriage story on there as well. And I was like, I've been meaning to put this out there and share. So I just wanted to do that. Thank you for the heart. Thank you for the support. Um, so if nobody has any questions for me, okay. So also, while I'm here, let's talk about what not to say. At least it was early. Don't say that. Don't say that because that baby is a baby. To any woman who has been pregnant for a day or for an hour, that baby still matter. There's this song by Taylor Swift. It's called "Bigger Than the Sky" or "Bigger Than the Whole Sky," something like that. And I listened to it repeatedly when I was like really going through, and when I was on TikTok and I was watching these people's stories and I was hearing the screams of the pain, physical and emotional, that women were going through. Because I was like, oh, that's how I feel, and I didn't feel like I had any place to express that. So yeah, don't say that. Oh, I love you too, of course. And so yeah, so don't say that. At least it was early, or at least you can try, or at least you can get pregnant, or at least anything. The only really, I guess, thing that you can say to someone is just ask them, what do they need? If they say I don't know, well, just be like, well, if you need anything, I'm here for you. That's really it. Um, the wives and the wives group that I was a part of, they were very supportive. They really, really came through for me. My family came through for me. My mom, sister, like everybody, like really came through for me once I shared it. But I feel like you shouldn't have to be going through it to know that there's all these people that are going through it. Does that make sense? Because you need to be able to have that place to go to in the midst of it, when you're crying, when you're depressed, when you don't want to get out of the bed or whatever. And however you mourn is your way, your personal way, and there's no right or wrong way. So, I had a close friend of mine. She experienced a miscarriage, and she healed from it. I won't say very quickly in comparison to what I went through. Quickly, her healing, her going through that cycle and coming out on the other side, was very, was different. I'll just say that it was different from mine. And I'm like, that's a blessing, because I would not wish what I went through with anyone, on anyone, because it was a lot. So that's it. That's all. I'm gonna shoot this on over to my YouTube. I'm gonna bring back Amayou Raw, Real and Uncut, and it's gonna be a great time. Adrian, can I say keep praying, keep believing? God will cause it to happen in His perfect time. You can say that. And okay, this is super transparent moment for me. My struggle with that is that, so let's say I go out and I fornicate, and I get pregnant and I have a healthy pregnancy. Why would that baby come to fruition and not the baby that I conceived in marriage with my loving husband? Why? You know what I mean? So like, if it's like a God thing, and I know that there's no answer for that. Well, I'm sure there's an answer. I don't know if, people will like it, or if it'll even be the correct answer. And I know that I feel like ultimately it's in God's hands. So in my pursuit of motherhood this year, it's not going to be the traditional way that I pursued it previously in a marriage, because I'm not married. But I still want to do this, and um, I feel like this is the time for me to attempt it. So, maybe there'll be some updates later on this year. Maybe, I'll be like, I'm pregnant, y'all, but I'm obviously not married. So my thing is, if it is in His timing, and I do get pregnant, not married, and with someone else, that was His time. I mean, I don't know. There's so many holes. You know what I mean? Well, the sin is the fornication, not the baby, right? But God's Almighty, He could keep people from having babies when they fornicate, or He could have allowed my baby to live. Like, I don't know the answers. Okay, yeah, we can talk. We can talk. Um, but I just know that that's a very complex area for me. I would say if the person is a believer, then you know what, you can go ahead and just say you're praying for them. yeah, just pray for them. And that's pretty much it. Don't worry about the timing thing because one of the things that I was able to do was I joined a support group for women who had lost children. Right? We will never understand how God moves. So what's the point really is how I feel at times. Um, what was I about to say? Oh, one of the things that came out of the miscarriages, I ended up joining some support groups, and they were very helpful. Actually, one main one, we would meet Wednesdays and have our call, and I met women that had been through so much, so many miscarriages, infant loss, stillborns, all these things. And the thing that I learned most out of that was to not compare my situation to someone else's situation. To be like, oh, Lisa only had two miscarriages. This person had four. Or this person has. We all lost babies. So, yeah. Thank you, Debbie, for praying for me. Hey, Chantra, I understand you just got here. But I'm about to end the video. So you can watch it once I end it or whatever. But that is my story about the miscarriages I experienced. I don't want to say my miscarriages, the miscarriages I experienced. Also, I do talk to my therapist too, because girl, y'all know, that it's no easy feat. Life is no easy feat. Even people who have not gone through miscarriages or not had a divorce, life be life and it be beating us over the head sometimes. And you can pray all you want, but sometimes, the prayer is go see a therapist. Okay, so I encourage everybody to, if you don't have a therapist, get one. In Jesus' name, amen. That's it. I will be back with more Amayou Raw Real and Uncuts, and I promise you that will be on a lighter note, but this is just something that I had to get out and get off my chest. So I love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Unfortunately, those who have lost babies, it can be devastating, but God always desires for babies to be born in marriage. Okay, so why he don't make it that way? I'm just saying, like there, girl, we have to get into that another time. As you start to, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. That was my desire too. That was my desire too. But what if something bad would have been happening? And I would never think that my husband would do this. But what if, something mentally happened and he did something to that baby after it got here? You know what I'm saying? These are the crazy thoughts that, you can just have. And like I said, I don't think he ever would have, but I'm just saying, you never know. I'm sure people whose husbands or father, whoever that did stuff to children, they never thought that it would happen. But that's crazy stuff happens. So that is one thing that I do think of. I do think of what my children were spared of. I do think of that. We all have free will. I get what she's saying. Okay. He does though. We have free will to make babies outside of marriage too. So back to what you're saying. I'm just saying, if I had the magic wand, I'd be like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Cause you got, and this is something else too that I'm supposed to be ending this video, but stuff keeps coming up. This is something else that, we've talked about. So do y'all remember that movie from way back in the 90s? It's called Losing Isaiah. And it was by Holly Berry, and she was on drugs, and she had this baby, and the baby ended up getting put up for adoption, and some white lady adopted her. Anyway, the point is if you could make things happen, for people that are unstable and could not take care of children, why would you make them not have children? You know what I'm saying? We don't have the answers. We're not gonna have the answers, and I've resolved that, and so I'm gonna, do the things that I'm gonna do and make the choices I'm gonna make, and I still love God. I know God still loves me. And we're going to keep it moving. I know right where. Let's stay on here now. No, we can't stay on here now. But that'll be a raw, real, and uncut. We're going to talk about that. That'll be a whole nother video. All right. I'm done. I love you all. Have a good weekend. Have a happy Resurrection Sunday if you go into the house of the Lord tomorrow. Okay? Peace.